Well, hello, 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 my friends. Welcome back to the Real Talk Show. I am your host, Dr. India White. I am so excited about tonight's show. I just wanted to just start out just saying I hope you guys have had a phenomenal day. I know it was raining here a little bit, and I was very busy myself. I had a lot going on representing education across the state and across the nation. But I am excited to bring to us today a very phenomenal guest, which I will introduce in a little bit. But this person is very musically talented, and it brought back memories to me. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been in the band. I was in the marching band growing up. In middle school, I was in the marching band, and I remembered I had to play a certain song. There was a song called Prelude and Fugue in G minor. Again, it was called Prelude and Fugue in G minor. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been in the band, if you've ever heard that song before, but it's just an amazing song. And the thing that got me about that song was that I don't know, like it plays really slow, and I play saxophone, okay? And so long story short, one second guys, I'm just sharing the show really quick. So I play the saxophone, and the cool thing about it is that but it's just an amazing song. And the thing that all right, I shared my post. Awesome. So I play the saxophone, right? And there's this really cool part in there, and it's just like I don't want to sing for you, but it's like da 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 da. Anyway, and it's just so smooth, way smoother than what I just sounded. But anyways, so I bring to you today, there's going to be a wonderful guest that I actually met when I was playing saxophone in the Gator Band. And there was always something that stood out about this man. Even when we were only 18 years old, we were just coming, from different walks of life. We loved music. And I remembered, he just had the coolest looking saxophone ever. Um, and I was just trying to figure out, like, where did you go to get a black and gold saxophone? It was all black, and then the keys were gold. And I just remember I was a little envious of that. I was a little jealous. I mean, and then the man could play. It was just amazing. He just had a wonderful embouchure. He really could play the saxophone. He really put me to shame. I remember we had to play one time. I minored in saxophone performance. This man that's coming on our show, he majored in music ed, so he's all about music. But I remember there was a time where we had to both perform at the University of Florida, and it was towards our music degree. So it wasn't just fun, playing around, whatever. It was like you had to be serious. And I had a professor who definitely expressed himself to me and let me know that I could be better. I was not good, y'all. I was not good. And I remembered I was playing so hard. I was playing with all my heart, with all my might. And I think I only got a C. I was horrible. Anyway, however, my friend that is getting ready to come on the show, he was amazing. I remember just envying his ability on the saxophone. He just knew how to make it sound amazing. And I was like, I have the same instrument and it sounds a hot mess. So I'm going to bring on to you guys now 2020 Florida Teacher of the Year, my wonderful friend, Matt, our music expert and influencer, Dr. Dre Graham. Welcome, Dr. Dre.
Hey,
How are you?
Dr. India, how you doing? What's up, Doc?
Doing well. Thank you, my friend. It's so good to see you.
You too.
I was just talking to the people I was talking to them about our experience in the band and how I was horrible on the saxophone. You guys were so nice to me, though.
Hey, it's a family,
I
and
tried. I
we're all
tried,
here to have
man.
a good time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So guys, this is Dr. Dre Graham. And so, Dre, I don't know. Some people, Dr. Dre, might not know about you, whether they're sleeping under a rock or they're busy making millions. I'll give it to them if they're, doing that. Okay, I understand, but they might not know who you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I just finished my year as the Florida 2020 Teacher of the Year. Prior to that, I taught at my alma mater, King High School. I was the band and orchestra director. Took over for my high school band director, which was just an absolutely incredible honor. Prior to that, I was with you at the University of Florida, where I earned my bachelor's and master's back to back in music education. While I was teaching at King, I had the opportunity to pursue my PhD at University of South Florida. And while I was getting my PhD, I actually got a second master's from Concordia University in educational leadership. And actually, right now, as I am in a new position with the Florida Department of Education, I serve as the executive director for the Office of Independent Education and Parental Choice. I am also pursuing an ed doctorate in at Florida State University. So got a little bit going on. Yeah.
Very nice. So you just love education. So tell us, how did all of this love for music develop first? And then how did that bleed into now a love for education? Where did all this come from?
Well, there are definitely two people who I can attribute the love for music and education from. The first would be my dad. I was raised in a musical family. He sang around Tampa just all the time, and so I would travel around with him, and he would kind of just in tow as he would go to his rehearsals and different things. So I got to hear him sing in the children's choir and all that kind of stuff coming up. And then when we got to middle school, and they're like, hey, band's an opportunity. Like, you can do this if you want to. My dad was like, I want you to play. Like, you need to be a part of band because he was in band. So, okay, I'll join band. So I started playing the clarinet. And then my dad was like, hey, I want you to play saxophone. So I said, okay, I'll play saxophone.
Nice.
And so just picked it up and just realized that I had an incredible affinity toward music. And just through my incredible experience in high school and my amazing high school band director, who really is a second mom to me, she influenced me to the point where I wanted to pursue music in college. Now, with that, that was not my original intent. I actually was a double major whenever I first started at UF, and the whole reason why I went to UF, whereas my high school band director was a Florida State grad, so she was like, "You're going to do music. You're going to be a band director. You need to go to Florida State." I was like, "No, I'm going to be a medical doctor." And so I'm going to go to the school that's known for their academics and their medicine. So I'm going to pursue microbiology at the University of Florida. And so I was a double major. I was a microbiology major and a music ed major because I knew I would want to do music at some point in time. And I knew there, at least in my opinion, I'd have more opportunities for employment through music education versus music performance. Because I mean, just as a saxophonist, there aren't really a whole lot of spots for us unless you can get into somebody's jazz band. So I decided to pursue the education piece, and it was during my junior year that I realized everything outside of my classes and whatnot were revolving around music. So I was teaching. I was an assistant choral director at one of the local high schools. I was helping out at one of the local middle schools with their middle school band and orchestra. And then I was also teaching elementary steel drum band. And then on top of that, I was also serving as the curriculum developer and instructor for World Martial Arts. And so through both of those, just all of those things that were happening that were going on, I realized that my passion and my responsibility, and really ultimately what became my ministry, was to teach. And so that junior year, I ended up dropping out of microbiology and just fulfilling that desire to be a music educator. And the rest is history. I mean, you look 11 years after starting that journey, being selected as the 2020 Florida Teacher of the Year and the Krista McAuliffe Ambassador for Education. Not what I got into education for, but just an incredible testimony as to the just when you focus on the students and they become the primary concern, just the possibilities and the potential. So it's just been an incredible journey.
Well, that's phenomenal, Dre. Thanks so much for sharing that. And I love how your father has been an influence. And I just want to take time to honor you, your family, your father in particular, because I don't see that a lot in our society of Black males really kind of owning it like how you have and how your father has, and making a phenomenal difference, especially in our society today, with all of the different stereotypes that are against you, all of the different setbacks, different things that you've had to climb through. You still were a phenomenal success and a great example. So, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for representing with excellence, because you're doing a wonderful job. I know you're a wonderful, wonderful father of that beautiful little girl, Aaliyah. You got a queen, Miss Casey, as your wife, and you are owning it. And so I must say kudos to you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely couldn't be where I am today without the support of that family and just those ideals that were impressed upon me by my father, and just having that role model has been so significant. And wanting to instill that and do that for the next generation of world changers has just been that guiding force, that why. Uh-oh, did we lose you?
Okay, so I am back. I don't know about you guys. I've been having, there was a really bad storm in my neck of the woods. So I was having some glitches. So thanks for your patience. So Dre, I have another question for you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, I've been having some glitches, so we're gonna get it figured out though. I think it was just a bad storm. Tell me this. How did music navigate your academic journey overall from you were in school to now doctorate? How did music kind of just weave your path together?
Well, I know for me, getting through the academic side of school, I was that kid who everybody hated because I didn't have to study and all those other kind of things, kind of learn through osmosis, and I would like just kind of cruise through the classes and take the exams and take the tests and different things and pass and be fine and just move on. And so really the reason I was in school was for music. And so when I got to high school and had all the opportunities to be in leadership and be principal chair and all these different things, it really gave me a reason to be involved. And it gave me a sense of belonging and a place to be where I felt that I mattered and I was a part of something that was bigger. And so, really, that's been one of my pushes as a music educator, is that students will have that same experience and be able to have that same opportunity to feel as a part of something, a greater piece of, or a smaller piece of a greater whole as they continue to develop. And so, really, when we're looking at the role of music, it was a driving factor for me, not only in high school, but then also obviously being a super focus for whenever I come out of that and now serve as a music educator in our society. That was just always something that was an integral part to my life. And so I can only hope that that same passion, that same drive, that same desire uh, was evident and was apparent in the lives of my students. Something that I love about music is that we have the opportunity to elicit other results that are extra musical. And when I say extra musical results, I'm talking about stuff that when you look at the benefits of being a part of a music program, it's not only becoming a better music teacher or a better music student. I often say that my goal was not necessarily to raise the next principal chairs for the New York Phil and different things like that, but I wanted to use music as my medium for encouraging others to be better humans. And so we look at that aspect of the things, the takeaways that I got from out of my music program, that confidence, the ability to communicate, those leadership skills, collaboration, planning, And you name it, and those skills that it took to be successful at the next level in college and in my profession all stemmed from the opportunities I was given by my band director to lead and to play an integral role in the success of our program. And so my desire was always to instill those same skills and that same opportunity into my students. And so that's my hope. And it's really great on this side of things being able to communicate with those students who have graduated and gone on and are now adults, and they're contributing to their society and changing the world around them. And to know that I played some small part in their life, it's just been an absolutely amazing experience for me, and just continuing to see those small nuggets and get those messages every now and then when it's like, hey, I was just thinking about you, this happened today, and all I could hear was what happened in our class. Or I think one of my favorite stories, whenever students say, I'm a big believer in call and response. And so one of the things we did, which, and I can't even take credit for this one because I took this one from my mentor, but I'll ask a question, and to check for understanding or comprehension, I'll say, am I clear? And the students will respond with crystal. And even to this day, I have students who have graduated from the program, and they'll say, I was in a meeting the other day with my boss, and they asked, well, am I clear? And I shouted out crystal before I even knew what happened. And so it's like, okay, well, it's nice to know all that that classical conditioning has worked out in exactly the way it was supposed to. But just those little takeaways that they continue to have from the program are always a great benefit to knowing that you had that small impact on their lives.
Yeah, to me, that's amazing. And as you can see, this student has put here, most amazing teacher ever. So I don't know who that is, but you definitely made an impact in their lives. And so I want to now give you the floor again. I want to ask you to talk about your experience in the Gator Band. How was that for you?
Man,
Talk to
so
us about it.
I I got to experience Gator Band from two different perspectives, both as a student and as a graduate assistant, as you know. So being a part of the band is just an incredible experience, regardless of where you go, and just the traditions that stem from being a part of the organization, the relationships and networking that you develop while you're there. I mean, there is nothing like being surrounded by 95,000 of your closest friends in a stadium when you are winning a football game. There's no place like the Swamp, the number one most intimidating place to play in all of the NCAA. But then getting a chance to travel around to multiple national championships, and it's just, we were there at an incredible time and got a chance to take advantage of just such unique opportunities that we wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. And so, as a band director myself and as an orchestra director, I wanted to provide similar opportunities to my students. And with that being said, every 2 years we would take an out of state trip. Because a number of my students, if they hadn't gone out of state with me, maybe that just wasn't something that was within their purview. And so we took trips to New Orleans. We went to Tennessee, Gatlinburg. We went to Washington, D.C. We were also an ensemble that was selected to perform at Carnegie Hall in New York. And that was definitely one of the pinnacles of my career as a director, just that experience of getting to see a Broadway show, and we didn't actually get to go out to the Statue of Liberty, but getting to really be uh, very close in relationship to being from Florida, very close to the statue, walking around Times Square, just the prestige of being on the stage for Carnegie Hall was just an absolutely unique experience. That was the trip that many of our students had flown, and some parents had flown on a plane for the very first time for their whole life. And those are the kind of experiences that are unforgettable. And that really is what it means to be an educator, but specifically a music educator, to be able to provide those opportunities to those students that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to experience.
That's amazing. And so I know you definitely impacted me in the Gator Band. You're definitely
Uh-oh. I think we lost you again.
Hey guys, okay, I'm back. Wonderful storm tonight. Okay. So tell me, I know it wasn't even in your wildest dreams to become the Florida's 2020 Teacher of the Year. Tell me about that whole experience. You experiencing that. What did it feel like? And then how has it opened up doors for you now as you're serving at the state level?
Well, that was never even remotely in my purview. And I've been blessed, and I think I attribute a lot of that blessing not only to that relationship that I have with Christ and putting him first and foremost, but just the unique relationships and the favor that's been granted to me from being at my alma mater. I was selected as the King High School Teacher of the Year twice in 2012 and then also in 2018. And both times I actually was a finalist for Teacher of the Year for Hillsborough County. The second
Oh
time, this most
wow.
recent time in 2018 was or 2019 was when I was selected as the representative for the county for the race for Teacher of the Year for the state of Florida. And I'll tell you, even still, whenever I met the other four, who are four of my closest friends now, we're the Wolf Pack, and I just super. We text almost daily just to keep up with one another. Even still, I feel unworthy. We call it the imposter syndrome to be surrounded by such powerful and significant educators. But something that I like to impress upon others who are being selected for these positions in which their perspective gains platform is that we're not in a race against each other, because
That's right.
teaching is the single most noble job, most noble position on the face of the earth. There's nothing that can elicit global change like being a teacher. It doesn't exist. And you look at those individuals who are out being influencers and being the ones who are eliciting global change, and you look at those frontline responders, those first responders, and what is it that encouraged them to be where they are? What is it that provided them and equipped them with the tools that they needed to be successful? And there was an educator that played a significant role in that, whether that educator be someone who started their job and was now educating them on how to do their job. The role of an educator is paramount. And so whenever I look at it, I didn't win anything. It was just that my perspective had the opportunity to gain a platform at that time. And so with using that, just getting the opportunity to tour the state and literally going to all 67 counties and the additional 7 districts that we have in our state, and getting to see these phenomenal educators do what they do day in and day out and elicit the positive change that they do, and really understanding that my role as Teacher of the Year wasn't about me, but it was a chance to celebrate all the amazing things that are happening in our state. And so that was really one of the just amazing takeaways that I had. And we're very close, our 2020 cohort, uh, with our Teacher of the Year cohort. We're all incredibly close, and I love every single one of them. And just getting a chance to have that unique relationship with them has been just absolutely phenomenal. But this platform and this elevation as Teacher of the Year has just opened up so many opportunities, not just as an educator and getting to network and meet new people, but it is the reason why I was able to develop the relationships that I have through the members in the Department of Education and whatnot, and now getting to a place where I'm able to voice an opinion and be able to share things from the ground level, and just being the one who is most recently from the classroom and getting to share some perspective as decisions are made, and really being an advocate for our teachers and our students and be able to put that input. And I got to tell you, it's just such a blessing to be on this side too, and be able now to experience what it's like being at the Department of Education and understanding that there are so many people here who just are former educators who really are doing their best for education, and they're presenting these opportunities for everyone to be the best version of themselves, and advocating from the lens of the educator and from the student. And so it has just been such an incredible honor to be able to gain that opportunity to hold on. There's someone knocking on my door, on my window. Yes.
The car is over the line on the other side of me, so
Okay.
I am super close to you.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if you're going to even be able to open this door.
I don't need to, so you're good to go. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
what do you
It's
think?
I just wanted you to know, like,
It's a,
What do you think? Now that I'm back, what do you think? So, Dre,
okay.
what do you think now is your? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Are
I
you
can hear
having
you.
difficulties over there?
No, we're good now.
Okay.
Someone was knocking on
Yeah,
my window.
this
We're
is.
good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, tell me, what do you think is your ultimate purpose now that you are working at the Florida Department of Education? What does your purpose look like now?
Honestly, it's just to continue to provide, to be that voice for equitable experiences. It's really, I think, one of the most underrated elements of education is the fact that we have the opportunity to elicit equity and to really to emphasize what true equity is. And so many people misunderstand equity for equality, and they also misunderstand equity as something that takes away from one in order to facilitate the elevation of another. But whenever we really talk about true equity, you're meeting each student where they are and providing them with the resources they need to have the opportunity to succeed. We've all heard the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. Or teach a man, feed a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for the rest of his life. And those are both stories of equity. I mean, you think about the teaching and the imparting the knowledge of finding food and being able to learn the skills necessary to fish. Well, that was a deficiency that that person had whenever you just continue to enable them and just force feed them or just provide them what they want, but giving them what they need, those skills, those basic, that foundation to build off of. That's the significance. But there are so many other barriers that prevent us from really having the opportunity to elicit equity, that a lot of times we choose not to see them. It's like when people say they're colorblind whenever it comes to different ethnicities, and I will
Yeah.
you will never hear me say different races. If it is a conversation in which I have the opportunity to really talk about and dig into the difference that ethnic differences have, but we're all the same race. We're Homo sapiens. If you cut any of us, we bleed red, and it's the different
Right.
ethnicities that make us different. That's what makes up our chemical makeup. That's what the biological difference. If we start talking about musculatures and different things like that, yes, there is a difference, but we're all the human race, and so we have to understand though that we're all just as vulnerable. We are all we have a very finite time on this earth, and if we spend it continuing to battle because you look different than me and not understanding that you being successful doesn't negate an opportunity for me to be successful, really these are the elements that that are what are holding us back. And so you ask, what do I feel is my purpose at the department? And that's to be that voice, to be that advocate for equitable opportunities. I'm gonna put a plug in here really quickly, and I mean I don't look at education as a partisan issue. It's not. Education and choice are not something that should be a political tool. If we're really looking at education as being a vessel to rise all tides and to allow individuals to be elevated from their situation, then it's important to understand that the role that equity has to play in that situation, and knowing that every student learns differently, and until they
Yes.
can receive a catered education towards what their strengths and weaknesses are, we're not providing opportunities for all students to become the best version of themselves. And so when we start talking about things like school choice and whatnot, understanding that parents have the ability to choose the program that is best for their student, what they feel is going to put their student in the best, have to give them the best opportunity to succeed, then we have to understand that that's something that's important. If I've got a class of 30 students and I can't tell at every single point in time where each of those students is and what they're deficient in and what they're good at, and tailor what I'm doing towards them being successful and filling those gaps, I'm not doing a good enough job as an educator. And I can say that from that lens because that was what I did as a band director. We we used the pass off system, and my kids hated it. because it required them as individuals to come and perform for me by themselves. But what that did was it gave me an opportunity to see, okay, you know what? This is an area that this group of students is not doing well. So I need to cater my instruction towards emphasizing those elements so that while I'm building the other people, I'm going ahead and I'm creating a stronger sense and a stronger control of the fundamentals for these students so that everyone is improving through this and not just doing something that caters to that top 10% or that top 20%, but really truly embracing and providing equitable opportunities for all my students to succeed. And that is the purpose of education. Now, whether that's how it's being implemented is a completely different discussion. But if the goal is really to elevate society, it should be to provide every student with every opportunity to be the best version of themselves. And so being at the DOE is it's a blessing to be able to share that opportunity and to share that message as we continue to make those decisions that we feel are going to present the opportunity to have those equitable chances.
Now you just said a mouthful, and I think you're definitely the perfect man for the job. And it makes me think because I know you've got a little one at home. We're talking about reopening of schools,
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of COVID. What are your perspectives about that, and how can we provide equity to all students under these particular predicaments that we're under today?
Absolutely. Well, like I said before, it's the main two words that always are at the forefront of my decision making and whenever I get the opportunity to speak are equity and empathy. And we have to understand that just because something wasn't my experience doesn't mean that it isn't an experience. And we can't, when we're making decisions about this, we can't make the decisions from a lens of selfishness. And so when I think about equity, it always goes back to that student who's in a home where they're being abused. And, First Lady DeSantis she just has such a way of expressing things. And she had a press conference yesterday that talked about mental health and the significance of us really emphasizing the importance of mental health. And as a Black male, that's not something we don't talk about. Black men like really expressing their feelings and like being okay to be vulnerable. It's not something within our culture that happens. But when we look at the last 5 months and how we've all been locked up in our houses and essentially our social nature has been ripped apart, that is traumatizing to us as a people, even more traumatizing to the individuals. But now think about how that compounds with students and children who don't understand the why. They just understand that they're being forced to do this. They've been ripped out of their classrooms. And a statistic she gave yesterday just completely blew my mind. And it, unfortunately, I will not be able to say it as eloquently as she did. But she mentioned that calls for for the child abuse hotlines and things like that are down 40%. So when you think about that number, you're like, wow, that's fantastic. Like, what do you, it's, we're down 40%. Essentially, we would hear that and think that that means that our domestic violence cases and abuses and things like that are down 40%. But then the next thing she said was so significant. She said, well, our teachers haven't been interacting with our students. And as teachers are typically the ones who are that middle ground, they're the ones who are observing those changes in the students. They're the ones who have that relationship with the students. They're not able to communicate that need to those hotlines. They're not able to make those calls. So that 40% represents potentially 17,000 cases of student abuse that isn't being reported. And when you look at that, that just blows my mind that we have now eliminated that opportunity to play that role of being able to provide safe harbor and safety for those students who use our schools as a vessel to escape those environments. And so when we look at this situation and the whole school choice and whether or not we should go back to school, I lean back on those two concepts of equity and empathy. And when I think about the equity piece, where it gets me is that we've got to understand that in that equity, and this is something that I talked about throughout the entire year of me being teacher of the year, it's not just equity for students, it has to be equity for teachers as well. And so if we're going to continue to emphasize the choice, it has to be a viable and a true choice for teachers and students to be able to do what they feel is best for them. And what that does is it requires us to think outside of our box, and we've got to be creative
Yes.
with the way that we approach it, because we can't continue to do things the same way we used to and continue to put the square peg into the round hole whenever our entire way of life has been flipped completely upside down. If we're still thinking from the same lens and the same mentality as we always have, whenever our world has taken and turned 180, then now we're going in the opposite direction from what forward progress and forward momentum would be. And so we've got to really reevaluate the way that we're approaching education so that we're tailoring it to an opportunity to continue to provide those equitable experiences for all.
So tell me, Dre, how can we kind of come alongside you on this mission for equity for all teachers and students in our, prospective places, in our respective places?
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to using your voice and understanding that the people who fought for us to have the right to vote and who fought for us to be able to have our voices heard, we need, it's our job, it's our responsibility to take that right and to vote and to be educated on that vote. There are two people who have played such an incredible role in my life when it comes to politics. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I hate politics. I think there's too much involved with it. Like it's that shouldn't be the guiding decision maker. It should be what's the moral high ground, and you're operating within a sense of for compassion and grace. And so when I think about that, it's like, well, really, am I really educating myself enough to make the right decisions when it comes to voting and using my voice? And so, but my little sister Antoinette she is on top of it. And so she and I have conversations daily now just about the political climate, because that was an area that I saw that I was deficient in, and I was not putting enough attention into that in order to really be a viable option to express an opinion. Because and a speech without education is just an opinion. But when you can tailor it with facts or with research, it becomes an influence, and that allows you to make an impact. And so it took me understanding that deficiency within my education to really humble myself and to learn from my sister. And then also my friend Alex, who is these two are so politically savvy. It's absolutely incredible. But we now have discussions on a daily basis, so that I'm learning more, and then I go and I do my research, and then I'm able to provide some perspective for them. But it allows us the chance to grow. And I think that just goes back to the importance of being a lifelong learner, and then also realizing that we can learn from anyone. Yeah, she's my younger sister, but she still to this day is teaching me so many things. Whereas I'm the older brother, like you have to learn from me because I was the one who did it first, and I was the perfect child. And what do you mean? You just have to listen to me. But humbling ourselves to be able to learn from anybody is so significant. And I think we could all benefit from that ideal.
I agree, especially with, the November election right around the corner. I know we just had preliminaries, and which, many wonderful people did get elected into office. And so we'll see how that goes moving forward. But, definitely for November, I think there are some concerns with various cuts and budget cuts and things. And, what does that look like? What does, distance learning look like for our learners, and how will they be, as far as will they really be able to still perform on these standardized assessments? And I don't know what your perspective is on that, but I know you're a father, and you're also just kind of at the front lines. Talk to us a little bit about that. What are you thinking about the FSA, and what do you know about it, and what advice would you give to parents and teachers alike that are trying to conquer this FSA and deal with COVID and social distancing?
Well, it's the presence of COVID has really exacerbated a number of things. You talk about the achievement gap, you talk about the opportunity gap, and it's so difficult really for us right now because we're still in the midst of it all to really understand the impact that this is having on our climate. I mean, it's we think we understand, but really it won't be for another year, 2 years, 3 years down the road that we really see the impact that we've had. However, just as I mentioned, we need to do the research and we've got to prepare ourselves to be able to make adequate decisions. It's important that we continue to make our decisions based off of informed data that allows us to adequately assess where we are. And so I know that the whole assessment piece it's a very interesting conversation as to whether or not we should have testing or we're having too much testing. My stance is if we are testing the things that we're supposed to, if we're having valid testing that is looking to garner information that's going to help us to better our practice, then we should continue to do that. Now we've got to make sure that we're aware of the humanity piece and that we're not just inundating our students with just test after test after test after test. But we've got to make sure that we are taking the opportunities to gain those adequate and accurate measurements in order to formulate our educational decisions.
And like you said, you have to continue making informed decisions. And I think we have to just kind of stay.
And that storm is something else.
Okay. So with that said, we're making informed decisions and we're going to make them together. So my question is, where do you see us maybe in the next 5 years with all of these different changes? Do you really think that we can that as a state, as a nation, especially in the area of education?
I always tend to be optimistic, and I think some people look at it as being naive, and I'm okay with that. I choose to be positive, and I choose to have a positive aspect and a positive perspective as we move forward. And I think that you've got people in place who are making informed decisions for what they feel is best. And if we worked more towards uniting and being stronger together and working towards the eventual goal of everyone being able to be the best version of themselves, then if that were the focus and really elevating the education of our students, which I do believe here in the state of Florida it is, then that's what's going to allow us to come out better on the other side. So just as long as we continue the incredible teaching that's happening in every classroom here in our state, and we look at the positive rising trends in so many things that are happening, we just have to continue to really to dive into that and to embrace that and allow that to be our driving factor. We hear so often that negativity spreads. We've all heard that. And we can all think about that time whenever you were somewhere and like somebody started saying negative. Now, oh, I'm going to jump on that. Okay, now everybody's talking negative. But then the same way, positivity also spreads. I like to use
Yes, it does.
the adage that you attract more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. And so as I approach situations, I don't like to just belabor the problem. I prefer to hinge on the solutions. And so whenever we approach different situations and different challenges, I find that we get more done if we remain solutions oriented than if we just continue to focus on the status of the problem.
So, okay. So my question to you then is, how do we continue to focus on the problem? Do you think that there needs to be more kind of praise to teachers and appreciation? Like, what does that look like for all of us moving forward? How can we kind of collaborate together? Because I know so many people are uptight and they don't quite know how to. maybe share their voice or what's going good or their perspective of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your opinion about all of that? How can we all kind of move forward and share our voices? What does that look like?
Well, I mean, I think we're already moving in the right direction. We hear about this being the year of the teacher, and we've heard that from different levels and how we're elevating the teaching profession. And I think it's really important for us to understand that everything
Yes.
requires one step. Like drastic change doesn't happen overnight unless there's a pandemic. But when we're talking about policy changes and different things and lifestyle changes, it all happens and it starts with one step. And so we look at what's happened with the teacher pay raise, where
Yeah.
if and regardless of where you are in on that spectrum of whether or not you think it was good or bad, or if you're a veteran teacher, which I was a veteran teacher, I still am a veteran teacher, and we look at where that pay scale would have been. Well, we talk about teachers not getting paid enough, but then if there isn't that first step towards elevating teachers to where we feel like they should be, then we're still exactly where we are. So I think I think that's just one example of ways in which we are working to elevate the teacher profession. But really, I think it comes down to society having to understand the impact that education has on all those around us, and that
Right.
the other careers that exist wouldn't be in place if it weren't for that teacher. Everyone
Mm.
can remember that one teacher who had a positive influence on their life, and who they're like, oh, I remember Miss Massaro from fourth grade, or Mr. Menendez from fifth grade, who instilled my love in Edgar Allan Poe whenever I was there. Miss Fowler in sixth grade. I mean, I could go Monty in whenever I was
Right.
in eighth grade in math, at Mr. Rufus Floyd. I mean, I literally Miss Gina Randolph. I can go through very specific teachers, Karen Hennon. I mean, you name it, Christine White, Maggie Allen, God rest her soul, she just passed away. I mean, I could name teachers who had a positive influence in my life, who allowed me the opportunity to flourish. But then, in that same vein, if a student has a teacher who is off-putting and who
Mm.
creates this negative connotation of what education in the classroom is, then you're fostering another student who doesn't value the role that education plays in our society. And so you start thinking about these different things, but that right there illustrates the power that education really has. And so how are we leveraging that potential relationship that shapes the world around us? And in order to do that, we have to acknowledge the power of education, and we have to elevate it to a level that it is equivalent to other groundbreaking, world changing professions. And so when we understand that, and we change that mentality and we have that mindset shift, then that is what will allow us to eventually elevate education to its proper place. And it's just a matter of society understanding and appreciating the role that education plays in everyday life. You make time and you provide resources for the things you appreciate.
And I like how you're talking about not just providing resources, but also paying it forward. I know that you were an adjudicator for the Bandmasters Association and Orchestra Association. I would like to hear a little bit about that, and how else are you paying it forward today?
I am blessed with the opportunity to travel around the state and listen to phenomenal ensembles. Just the music education field in the state of Florida is just par none. Like, they are doing some exceptional things. And one of my favorite things to do is to be an adjudicator for solo and ensemble and for sight reading, because those are the things where you get to work with the students, you get to do the clinic piece, and really get to dig in.
Mhm.
And it is I don't know that I've ever turned down an opportunity to adjudicate those and to spend that time and to kind of just learn from the students and from the instructors that are teaching, then also impart some new perspectives. Like I said, it may not be their way of doing it, but it could be a way of doing it. And so just in doing that, I'm planning this year in my new role, once we get back to an opportunity where we can do more face to face and things, and getting involved with the local ensembles here in Tallahassee, and working with them. I know that I've taken a lot of opportunities to speak to a number of undergraduate and graduate music education programs around the state, and getting a chance to work with them. I also serve as the president of the executive board for Instruments of Change, which is an organization based out of Hillsborough County that provides elementary band programs to Title I schools, and just understanding
Nice.
the influence and the power that music can have in a life. And so it's just music is an integral part. It's a human activity that we do. It is an organized language, and it gives us the chance to really emote and to just to get away from the everyday rigmarole and the monotony that we can experience in life. Even to this day, when I have a day when I just can't figure out how to express my frustration, or I just need an escape, I'll go sing somewhere, or
Can you
I'll go
sing for
somewhere and
us
listen to
on
music.
the show? Can
Yeah,
you sing
if
to me,
you want,
Dre?
I'll sing something. But and go pick up my horn and play for a little bit, play my sax. It is there is something about music that just allows you the opportunity to be you, and just to invest in yourself. And so you talk about paying it forward, just being that example, and then just providing the different things I've learned from my experience to others, to try and help them to have that same positive experience. Really is what I can do. So
That's so
you want me
beautiful.
you want me to sing?
Hey, we would be honored. We would be honored. Just you can ad lib, or if you have a song in your heart, go for it.
It's so I always have this go-to, but I find that it's always super relevant. And I think that's my problem, is I've now convinced myself that this song is relevant in any situation, and so it's just always my go-to. Um, but I mean, I'm blessed to be able to sing at my home church whenever I'm back in Tampa, and my sister and my wife and I, we sing all the time, and we have our own little trio. But when I think about remembering the purpose behind everything we do, and I said it oftentimes this year, it's important to remember our why. And for me, my why was always my students, and it always comes back to, what am I doing that's eliciting positive change for them? And so there is a song that incorporates the word why, and it emphasizes why, and it's also one that I have found has connected to different people in different ways. And so this song it takes everyone back to a different place. And it's one that it's a classic because it has withstood the test of time. I mean, I've met young people who know the song, and obviously there are older people who know it as well. And so it often, like I said, it represents different generational perspectives. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to remembering your why. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why, then oh, why can't I?
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I will not sing because I will not torment you. That is so beautiful, Dre. You need to make a CD. Do you have one on the way? I know
I
you
do
had a
not.
film or some kind of movie trailer
No,
going on.
I'm
Tell us about
not
that.
officially. No, I don't think there's anything official. I sang background vocals for my friend Brian,
Oh
on his
wow.
CD, so that was fun. But yeah, no,
Where's
nothing
your CD?
individual.
Right. We are waiting on your CD, sir. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for singing. Now, Dre, I know people are going to want to reach out to you, whether it's to speak, to music programs at colleges, high schools, or they're going to want to follow you on social media. Tell us, how can we reach you? What is your social media, your email? What is your information so I can pop it up here for
Absolutely.
us?
So my email, the best way to reach me at email is dregraham@gmail.com. So DREGRAHAM @gmail.com. I don't like. I have a Twitter handle. I'm not the greatest at tweeting, but you can feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I've got two. One is at Dr. Graham 8, so at Dr. Graham like the cracker, Graham 8, or at
Okay.
FL. Yeah, 2020 FL Toy is the other one. But those are the best ways to get in touch with me.
Okay. I have placed your email there. I'm so proud of you, Dre. You are amazing. And
I appreciate
you're
that.
a wonderful role model for all men, especially our wonderful Black men out there that are trying to find their purpose. Please don't stop what you're doing. I support you 150%, you and your beautiful family. I wish you nothing but the best. And I just want to say thank you in advance for all of the decisions that you're going to make that's going to help promote equity in the classroom, even not just music, but in areas of math, because, you know, math does go with music. And I know I talked with you about math musicals with the company I currently represent, Big Ideas. They have a phenomenal platform of math musicals, which, you know, I sent you the link to that, but it's like they tie in math and music together for, you know, your K-5s and your students so that they can be engaged and enjoy music. So we need your voice, Dre. We need influencers like you. Don't ever think that you are not of importance or that you're not making a huge impact in the state of Florida and in society. So with that said, I just want to say thank you. And do you have anything else that you want to share? Do you have any other projects that you're working on that we can maybe check you out at?
Not yet. I'm always looking for more opportunities to get involved and to dig deeper and to just continue to elicit that positive change. So just uh, the best thing is for people to continue to use your voice. Like I said, reach out and be that positive change. Be the change you want to see in the world.
Now, how can they? So, if they reached out to you in this email, would they be able to reach you regarding issues within the Florida Department of Education if they wanted, you know, your influence, or if they needed your support on a certain parental choice or equitable situation?
Well, I mean, you can find my work email. If it's going to be work related, then you can just go into the Department of Education website, and then we can work through there. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And do you have any speaking engagements coming up?
Um, I'm speaking at FGCU on October 10th, and I'm actually speaking
What's
tomorrow.
GCU?
Florida Gulf Coast University.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
And then
Nice.
tomorrow I'm actually speaking at at orientation at Florida State University for the College of Ed. So, but aside from that,
Very nice.
my time as teacher of the year has officially ended. But always looking for
Yeah.
opportunities to connect with students and educators, whoever is involved.
Wonderful. Beautiful. I'm sure somebody's going to pick you up as a motivational speaker once they see the show, or they're going to want you to come and sing. You have a beautiful voice. I will not torment you guys with my voice or my saxophone ability. I need to take lessons. Anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Dre, for joining us on the Real Talk Show. We persisted through storm challenges and
Yes.
internet and all troubleshooting. It was a phenomenal show. I'll definitely have you back. And if you guys, you know, want to reach out to Dre, you see his email is right here. Please also follow him on social media. Do you have you know, you said it was your Twitter handle, and I know Facebook is your name, Dre Graham, Dr. Dre Graham.
Yeah.
And can you repeat your Twitter handle again for
Sure.
those that would be interested in following you on Twitter?
Either at Dr. Graham 8, just DrGraham 8, or at 2020 FL Toy, TOY.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. So you guys heard that. So thank you so much to everyone for tuning in to the Real Talk Show with Dr. India White. I'm so grateful to be your host. And until next time, you guys have a night. And again, thank you, Dre.
Absolutely.
Take care, guys.
Good night.